Hi, everybody. My name is Wanja Gitau. I am a consultant with Think Place Africa. I'm really excited to be sitting down today with Dennis Carrier to talk about a topic that I'm really passionate about, evaluation in human-centered design. And just a disclaimer, this conversation is as practical as it can get. So we will try as much as possible not to be technical, because I think when we simplify things, we make it easy for everybody to follow along. So stay tuned, relax and enjoy, and please do follow Beneath the Impact podcast. Thank you.
Hello guys, welcome to Beneath the Impact podcast, where we go beyond the headlines to meet change makers who shape our world. Today, in this episode, the final episode of 2025. Whoa, it's been a minute. We'll be having a special guest over here, a human-centered design expert. Her name is Wanja. Over to you, Wanja. Introduce yourself, please.
Thank you so much. Hi, Dennis.
Yeah.
Really nice to be here. Yeah. My name is Wanja Gitau. I am a consultant with Think Place Africa, a design consulting firm that is in the social impact space. So I am a consultant. I apply human-centered design to support the clients that I work with to really think about the problems we're trying to solve, who are the humans behind them, why do those problems exist, but more importantly, how can we create solutions that are effective and scalable to solve the challenges that face different communities.
Yeah, thank you. Welcome, Wanja.
Thank you.
I know we all want to make the world a better place, as you have mentioned, design better solutions. Mm-hmm. And I'm sure you have developed many solutions in your experience as a human-centered design or rather management consultant. Mm-hmm. So today we'll be covering to know how do you know these solutions work. Mm-hmm. Yes, so that's the whole purpose of this podcast. Mm-hmm. And we shall cover some terminologies that sound very like a school evaluation, and how do we work around that as well. Mm-hmm. So, but first, let's go within your journey. Mm-hmm. How did you find yourself in this management consulting field? Yeah. How do you find yourself?
Yeah, that's actually that's a great question. I always say I think I stumbled upon because I never knew this is where I would get to. So just a bit of background, I studied economics and finance. So when I thought of my career trajectory, I saw myself as a banker, as, a financial consultant in the financial services industry. However, before I finished uni in my third year, I did a leadership program, and one of the short courses we did was design thinking. So that was my first introduction to design thinking, almost more than a decade ago. And it struck me because economics is amazing and I love economics. However, it was quite theoretical for me, so I couldn't really see how the skills that I had gained a lot in my undergrad degree would translate to what does everyday work look like. So when I stumbled upon design thinking, then for me it felt very practical, and I loved the aspect of how do you move from a problem to a solution. So I remember the first activity we did in that short course was designing solutions for increasing uptake of education, and it really blew my mind. Like, we took a challenge and went on a journey of saying, how can you innovate around these? What solutions can you create? And went into even the prototyping. So, writing some wireframes of, I think then we had an app that we wanted to develop. So I really loved that, moving from a problem to solution. And I think then it drew me to this part of saying, I want to be part of the journey of solving problem. And I would say that's how I stumbled upon it. So starting with it then, by the time I finished university, I was quite sure that's what I wanted to do. And luckily I came across Think Place at the time that was really doing exactly that, what I had gotten introduced to.
Yeah. Nice. So what made you stuck around?
For me, I would say it's the fulfillment that comes from seeing something that was a challenge, something that didn't have a defined solution, find a solution. And by this, I mean, if I'm to think of one of the favorite projects I worked on early on in my career, we had a project in rural Mozambique, and it was about nutrition for adolescent girls. And, the challenge here was the adolescent stage is such a critical growth stage. And I think that's where children who probably face some deficiencies when they were young, there's an opportunity to catch up on some of the growth, maybe metrics that maybe might not have been fully met. And for this challenge, the client tasked us, can you come up with a way to help us see how can we increase uptake of nutritious food among adolescent girls? And we went to rural Mozambique and we immersed into a deep research, trying to understand the girls and what motivates them to take, the snacks. They were snacking a lot, and I think it's very normal for adolescent girls to snack. And in the end, then by understanding that, we were able to come up with solutions that were very much anchored on the context of Mozambique, but more importantly, seeing those solutions. So we came up with a campaign that was rolled out in the certain provinces in Mozambique. So seeing how successful that campaign was, seeing how much also the client reported some really good numbers in terms of uptake of nutritious food, that for me is fulfilling. So I would say fulfillment really for me is that there is a problem, but we don't get stuck at there is a problem. We actually live that journey saying we have some potential solutions. They might not be perfect, but they have the potential to move the needle. And for me, those odds of being able to move the needle is what makes this very fulfilling for me.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. I'll pick up from what you have mentioned. Success that client mentioned to you, and also you seeing that success, and connect it maybe to the topic of today, evaluation. What does the term evaluation mean to you? Yeah.
Wow, I'm going to talk about it in the probably simplest and hopefully layman's language where I can talk about it. Evaluation to me is really that journey of collecting. Let me use the word evidence. Maybe it's still one of the technical terms you use, but more maybe collecting information to see is the success you had intended to achieve with something being achieved? And if yes, then that also gives you sort of like guidance that, hey, keep doing what you're doing because it's being successful. But if something is not working, then you're able to come up with ways to course correct. So in very simple terms, for me, evaluation is that really checking, is what we had hoped would happen happening? If yes, amazing, let's keep doing it. If not, what can we course correct to improve?
So where do you see the role of evaluation in human-centered design?
That's a great question. So evaluation for human-centered design, I would say, I think it is the thing that really help us understand the effectiveness of human-centered design as a problem-solving methodology. And I'll explain what I mean. So, for example, if we create, if we have a challenge and we say, these are some of the potential ways that we could solve that challenge, we come up with what we call ideas or concepts. Evaluation is how do we check whether those ideas are really solving the problems that we sought to solve. But even in a bigger scale, in human-centered design, we always say in the end, we develop a set of interventions. These interventions go through implementation, which is really just a rollout and, rolling out to a wider audience. And evaluation is what helps us collect feedback. And that feedback then is the intervention meeting the goal it was intended for? And if yes, then it gives us also a cue to say, if you had rolled out an intervention, say in one province, in one district, you're ready to scale to 2 or 3 other ones because there is information or indication that tells you that an intervention is effective. On the other hand, it also tells us what is not working. So when you collect information, say you go to a community and you're trying to evaluate maybe even an early prototype, not even a fully developed intervention, you collect feedback that tells you it is not achieving the intended outcome. It means then you get to a place of saying then, if it's not working, is it as a whole, is it not working? Is it parts of it that is not working? And based on that, actually, then you can discontinue a prototype to say, we are better off not continuing with this because it is not leading to the intended outcome. So I would say also evaluation in the human-centered design is what ensures that value for money is realized. Because whatever gets evaluated and is proven to be effective can be scaled. And therefore, you're using resources well. Whatever is evaluated and proven not to be working is discontinued. And in that, then you actually do get to save money for the client and even for the funder who has funded a certain program in that case.
Yeah. Nice. I think you have mentioned two aspects. One is a simple idea or concept, the low fidelity prototypes, and also the implemented aspect where it's a high fidelity prototype. So, and also there are programs in short. So what is the difference between, or rather similarities as well, between evaluating an idea and also evaluating maybe a program whereby a fund has picked up or an organization has picked up working prototypes and decided to implement? Where do you see the differences? Where do you see the similarities?
Yeah, I'll actually begin with the similarities, and the similarities will be still going back to that definition of evaluation that you are trying to understand, is the success we were hoping for being realized. I think for both low fidelity and high fidelity, evaluation is a process of really gathering evidence on, is this effective? So I would say that is what is shared across those two. However, the big difference then comes in when it gets to the rigor. So for example, with a basic idea, when you're evaluating a basic idea, it's really messy, and we normally, in that low fidelity aspect, if maybe I can ground this to a tangible thing. So say we wanted to redesign a healthcare facility in, say, somewhere in Kenya, because we've realized that clients have, there's a challenge they're facing either with the flow and with that. A low fidelity kind of prototype might be, you might reorganize the room in a certain way and not even tell clients you've reorganized, and you observe how they are interacting. And then in the end, you might do some exit interviews and ask the clients, how was your experience today? Did you notice any? So you're collecting it in a very messy, and you have not built any buildings. You've not made a lot of progress. So when it comes to evaluating early ideas, we normally actually say we focus first on desirability. And with desirability, we're asking the simple question of, does this solution solve a problem that exists for the end user? And it's only when we have actually answered yes to that, that then we start to ask ourselves, is this solution feasible? And by this we mean, do we have the resources? And this could be financial, this could be technology, this could be human resource to roll out that solution. And then we ask ourselves, is it viable cost-wise? Does it make sense to actually be able to do that and scale? So when it comes to evaluating an idea, it's really, I would say, light touch, and it's messy, and it's light experimentation that are very inexpensive. I mean, you could do that with very little money. However, when you get to evaluating a program, of course, as you might know, a program is already in a high fidelity form, in the sense that you might have, say, a program for healthcare workers in Kenya or in several countries in, say, East Africa or South Africa. So in such an instance, then, when you're evaluating a program, one, it is high fidelity, so the rigor is quite heavy, and it's really expected that you go very deep. So here you might, do, for example, program reviews, where you do some consultations with team members who have been involved in a program to try to understand how is it going, what's the effectiveness. So you really get, the rigor is quite, what I would say is quite different, and it's very targeted. And more importantly, even when it comes to the duration for that evaluation, it takes longer. So with a concept, you can do that over a period of a week or two. With a program, you might do that for 3 months, for 6 months, because the rigor requires a lot of generation of evidence to really assess effectiveness, relevance, and whether the program is actually still meeting the context of the challenge it was designed for.
Yeah, I think you have brought it quite well. And from the low fidelity prototypes, the word that I've heard you picking is messy, and also rapid. For example, doing it in a short time, and also pivoting, whereby in case it's working, you go ahead with it. In case it's not working, you tweak or leave it behind. In your experience, what do you think, or rather, what lessons can programs pick from evaluating small ideas?
I would actually answer it from a point of view of evaluation grows a learning mindset, in the sense that I think as programmers, we've been in the industry for such a long time. So sometimes it can be very easy to have a bias on what works and what does not work. However, I think evaluation, especially of early ideas, one, it builds a very curious mindset in ourselves, where we have these brilliant ideas that we might co-create with target users, but more importantly, we maintain a very curious mind when we're trying to see, I want to know whether these work. So as opposed to, I know this works and therefore I have to make it work, you go in with a mindset of, let me actually get to test these and see whether this is working. Secondly, we grow also a mindset of iteration, and iteration here is to say, we will not get to perfect in a day, in 2 days, in 3 days. However, we embrace that iteration because in iteration is where the magic happens. That's where the things that are working are then improved even to work better. The things that are not working are, I would say, discarded. So I think what we can learn from that, I think it's that curious mindset, but more importantly, the iterative spirit that is really needed, especially for programmers who have very big ambitions, who are tackling some of the most complex challenges in the world. However, there are no guarantees. There's no silver bullet, and therefore it means that learning is part of the journey when it comes to working in programs.
Yeah, I think you've put it quite well. Yeah, so looking in terms of, you've all talked about evaluations, all technical things. What's the role of the people we serve and also the larger community in evaluation, especially from your experience in HCD? Where do you see the role of those two groups?
Now that I think about it, so before, I would have probably said the primary audience of evaluation was program people, because, of course, they're the people charged with the mandate of confirming, are we on target? Are we reaching the impact that we had promised to achieve? But now, looking back, I do think actually evaluation is for communities, because the problems we try to solve, one, we don't do these in isolation. Two, these problems don't exist in a vacuum. They exist with the communities that we serve. So where evaluation is done well, I would say it is in service to the community. It is in service to their needs. It is in service to the challenges that they face. And I would say we cannot separate evaluation from end users. And by this, I mean, of course, it's the community. And this is because when we are asking ourselves the question of, is this intervention effective? Is it solving a problem? We cannot answer that question as the people who are not facing that problem. It has to be the community. So I would say the community, one, needs to be a part and parcel of any evaluation exercise, and us being very also clear on what's the community voice. So I know sometimes when we talk about engaging communities, it can feel like a tick the box kind of, we did consultation, but I would say intentional community engagement is saying we are going to measure our success from the community's lens. We're going to ask questions to the community, and their feedback is what is going to help shape whether indeed an intervention is effective or not. So whether these be, when we design solutions, holding validation workshops with communities, and validation workshops, again, to really be targeted to say we are all on the same page in terms of some of the challenges that continue to face the communities, but also we are on the same page in terms of what the potential solutions are, and using even scoring metrics to really help communities members say, this is what we think is appropriate for us, this is what our current priorities are. So them validating that, yes, indeed, program priorities are shaped by the community as opposed to maybe where the funding is and what the funding priorities are. And I would say even when it comes to now coming back to collect feedback around the effectiveness, having really the community voices a very big part of that, and saying that when we come back to maybe our offices, our boardrooms, to say whether indeed we are making progress on a certain area, we can define that community we can define that impact from the community's side. Because when we can do that, it means what we are designing is not we're designing for the community, we're designing with them, and therefore they should also be part of evaluating whether indeed the solutions we created are helping improve or address some of the challenges that they're facing.
Yeah, I think from what I'm getting is especially seeing the problem in the community lens. I think that's very powerful. Do you see a situation whereby we have evaluation, impact without evaluation per se?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would probably be bold and say no. And this is what I mean. for us to quantify impact, or for us to say we have moved the needle on something, we need to have evidence that tells us that, yes, indeed, you have been successful. And evaluation is the vehicle for doing that. So I would say I do not see a world in which impact and evaluation are siloed. I see a world where one feeds into each other, that good evaluation helps you measure your impact better, and therefore helps you scale scale your impact better, because you have evidence on what your successes are, you have evidence on what your learnings are, you have evidence on what you need to iterate on for you to be more impactful. So I'd say I think those two are cousins, and they have to exist together.
Thank you. So lastly, with the future trends, probably I'll want to pick your brain to see where the evolution is going. We are seeing technology shifting, AI coming into the play. Also, we are seeing a lot of contextualization, people saying we need to have our own evaluation methods, probably as Africans as well. But also we are seeing also community, the nature of communities coming up as well. And also the funding is going down. So where do you see, for example, what will the space of evolution look like in the next 10 years? Will it be the same? Will it have shifted a little bit? Where do you see it?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I'll talk about it in the human-centered design context, but also acknowledging that I know there are people who are big experts in these spaces, so they might articulate some of the things in a more sophisticated manner than I would. But I would say a couple of things. So one, evaluation will still continue to be participatory. And participatory, I mean, there has to be the people involved, the communities, the stakeholders involved will continue to really shape what evaluation will be. I see maybe more voices to the table. I mean, in the last decade or so, we have seen a strong, for example, emphasis on community engagement to say and I see when donors ask, community engagement is one of the ways we want this program implemented. So I will say participatory, that emphasis on participatory approach will go up. However, it will become more intentional. It will become less of a tick of the box, but like a more really targeted way. I think AI will come and help us do the messy bit that used to take a lot of time, but maybe it's not fun. And I'll give an example. So if, say, you run a participatory session with the community and you generate a lot of information, you code it, you might not need to read each and every word of it to be able to generate insight. So AI will help us spend time where it is more spend time in the right places, and for the things that really we do not need to spend a lot of time reading transcripts and everything, AI will help us become more effective in that way. We will definitely see more community engagement. We are seeing more communities holding actually programmers and organizations more accountable to, for the solutions they bring. We're seeing communities ask, for example, integrated approaches to how programs are implemented, because they do see the value in saying, why do I have to make 2 trips to access a service? Why can't I make 1 trip to be able to do something? So even evaluation will probably be less of evaluating one thing. It will be evaluating a suite of solutions as opposed to maybe it being more standalone. And I think a couple of more things will have more contextual approaches, and contextual, you alluded to this earlier, which is, really questioning the traditional methodologies, and not that because they haven't been effective, but because there's some nuances or certain things that they have not been able to meet. So we will see more of people taking, say, traditional models, traditional approaches that have been there, tweaking them based on their deep understanding of the context which they are applied to. And so we will probably end up with, I would say, more tailor-made, more contextual kind of approaches that will be applied to evaluation. And lastly, we have the youth bulge. We have the young people who are, completing education, who are very much also on that sort of like trajectory of holding organizations accountable to their actions. So we will also see another crop of young evaluators who will come in with a bit of a different mindset, and they will also add their voice and their contribution to shaping how evaluation for programs and projects is done in the continent.
So thank you for sharing this, Wanja. Now as we come to the close of the podcast, do you have any parting shot for us? Based on this conversation.
One, of course, is a big thank you for inviting me over. I've really had so much fun having this conversation with you. And my parting shot is evaluation as a skill. I think it's something that previously has often been left to the hands of M&D people who are really the experts in that space. However, I think it is a must-have skill for anyone who is in the impact space, for anyone who is really passionate about social impact, because by doing evaluation right, by shaping how we do evaluation, we stand a better chance of really increasing the effectiveness of the programs and the project that we implement. So my parting shot is evaluation is a core skill, and it's a core skill that we all need to build, and it doesn't mean that we become technical experts. However, understanding it will build those core muscles that we need to really be continually asking ourselves, what's the future we want to see, and what does it take to really get to that future? Thank you.
Thank you, Wanja. Thank you, Wanja, for coming to this podcast. It's the final one for the year. How do you feel?
I'm excited. I'm excited also because it's we're closing office in a few weeks. So what a better way to close my year than be here.
Yeah, thank you very much. Hopefully next year you'll come and give us all the wisdom on HCD as well as more lessons from the field and what we can borrow, especially for the change makers who are watching, that they can also implement within their space. So guys, thank you very much. Thank you for being with us all this year. We started it as an idea, but now it's an actualization. So probably we need to evaluate the podcast. In that regards, feel free to add a comment below in the YouTube link, as well as comment within our social space at Beneath the Impact. Thank you very much and have a good time.
Thanks for tuning in to Beneath the Impact, where we go beyond the numbers and narratives to uncover what really drives change. If today's conversation sparked a thought, shifted your perspective, or started a question, don't keep it to yourself. Share this episode, like, subscribe, leave us a comment, and join the conversation online. You can find us at beneath.the.impact on all socials. Until next time, stay curious, stay grounded, and keep digging beneath the impact.